Students, counselors, families, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever it is in the world you are viewing today. Thank you so much for joining StriveScan's virtual college exploration program. These STEM days are in partnership with CACHE, which is the College Admissions Collaborative highlighting engineering and technology. A few housekeeping items before we get to Purdue University's presentation. First and foremost, you are encouraged to ask questions of your panelists throughout the session via the Q&A button that you see on your screen. When you send a question, it gets sent to our panelists, and they will work to answer the question during the session and at the conclusion of the session. They may not get to every question. This is a 45-minute session, so if they don't get to your question, they will receive a transcript of all the questions submitted as well. As a reminder, your camera and your microphone are turned off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. So if you do have questions, make sure to type them in through that Q&A. This is one of 50 panel presentations and individual institutions that are presenting that are STEM focused. We encourage you to check out the schedule that runs through this evening at strivescan.com/virtual/STEM. Additionally, all of the recordings will be made available shortly after at strivescan.com/virtual/STEM. The same exact place you went to register, you can see the recordings as well. Finally, when you signed up for today's virtual event, you received a barcode. You do not need that barcode for this event. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Purdue University.
All right. Hi, everybody. We're so happy to be here. Boiler up, we like to say in Purdue land. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves, and then we're going to do a quick overview of the university, and then we're going to be focusing on, as you can see here, the College of Engineering and Purdue Polytechnic. So we'll talk engineering, and then I will pass it over to Ryan to talk about Purdue Polytechnic. So I'm David Boker. I'm the director of the Office of Future Engineers at Purdue University. Angie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Angie. I'm a rising junior at Purdue, majoring in aerospace engineering, and I'm originally from Southern California.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Kirchner. I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment for the Purdue Polytechnic Institute.
Awesome. So Ryan has agreed to drive here, so thank you. And we'll go ahead and move on into the presentation. Please do ask us questions as we're going on. We'll probably get to the engineering ones a little bit later after we're done chatting here. Just a little overview of Purdue University. As you can see, about 32,000 undergraduates, students. So we're not just STEM fields. We have over 200 majors. There's so many different opportunities at Purdue and really high quality educational experience, and really no matter what you major in. We kind of pride ourselves in A, challenging students, B, having the support for them to be successful, and kind of the doing part for a big school. We want you to be active in internships and labs and things, no matter what your major is. You can kind of see some of the other highlights there. We are in Indiana, which is pretty cool, and the world comes there. So let's take a look at the next slide. What's cool is it really does give students who are interested in STEM, which I'm guessing many of you are, opportunities to do different things. Many of our Purdue Polytechnic students and engineers will do minors, will do certificates. Angie, you're doing a certificate, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I'm doing a certificate in Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and it actually ties really well with a lot of the engineering majors. For most of the majors, you probably have to take 2 or 3 extra classes, 2 of them being the 2 entrepreneurship classes. It's actually really helpful. It's very collaborative, and it's a chance to meet different majors throughout Purdue's campus. So I really enjoyed it.
And Purdue recently was ranked nationally, I think, 3rd in startup companies, which is pretty awesome. So very much an entrepreneurial spirit, no matter what you major in. If you want to create something that doesn't exist, you can find the resources to do that. Just wanted to give you a quick view of some of the differences between the fields. There is a lot of overlap for sure. We all work together. We need engineering, we need technology, we need science. One examples I like to give is, say, drones, and technology even has an unmanned aerial systems degree. I call it a drone major. And so when you think about scientists, they're the ones that discovered and are working on new ways at how physics works, right? I'm going to give a real general what they would look into. Engineering would kind of look at that and go, okay, but what can we create and design out of that? And so you may have electrical engineers who are working on, different systems to be able to direct a drone, the control systems and things like that. Then you may have technologists who are taking some of that innovation that has been created, and they're thinking about, ooh, for Amazon, what's the best drone? How do we create and how do we build this thing so that Angie's going to get her package, whether it's in Florida or California, every single time? So within engineering, you're going to have more math and science courses. And so it's really a function of, as a student, so that you are able to mathematically model, predict performance. That doesn't mean you're going to do that throughout your career. You may do very little of it, but you do have those tools. Whereas in technology, you take a little bit less math and science, and it's a little more on the hands-on applied side, although you do hands-on in both engineering and technology. Okay, next slide, please. So Angie, do you recognize that building? That's Neil Armstrong. That's the aerospace building for the College of Engineering. So before we get to the next slide, the list of why Purdue Engineering, Angie, why for you? Why did you pick Purdue, and has it lived up to it, I hope?
So I'm originally from California, and my biggest thing when I was choosing between schools to go to was I really wanted to go out of state. There was a lot of draw to go back to California one day because my family's there, so I knew going out of state for school was probably going to be the best chance I got. So really, I visited Purdue on like an unofficial tour, and I just started talking to a couple of students, and I loved it right off the bat. And once I came in person, I started learning more about like the Purdue facts and info that you guys are learning now. And ultimately, like my experience as a student has genuinely been amazing. I think the Midwest is so welcoming. Everyone in Indiana is so open to being friends and just so kind. So I've absolutely loved my experience.
Awesome. Can we see the next slide? We'll see. I think we hit a few of those. So, I mean, it's really going to depend on you and what you're looking for. We want this to be the best fit for you. So see, Angie is a real student. I have a picture of her up there. I assume that's your internship. Is that right?
Yeah, that was actually sitting on an F-35 plane. So I got really lucky being able to do that. And that helmet itself is like $500,000. So very expensive.
Ooh, be careful. And so again, it's really going to be up to you. We want you to go wherever your number one pick is. We'd love it to be Purdue, but we want that to be wherever it is. So our goal is to try and give you as much information as possible. But for us, it's really about the combination of things, the secret sauce. You guys probably don't eat Big Macs, that special sauce, but it's how we do things in combination. And these are some of those things. And we're going to hit some of these in our presentation, but not all of them. But you did see friendly culture of support. I think Angie kind of mentioned that. Professional skills matter. We want you to be able to talk about your ideas, presentations, teamwork, a variety of things. And I do think we're a really good balance of practice and theory. You'll take a variety of labs. How many labs roughly in your sophomore aero? Don't you take a sophomore design class?
Yeah, we have one sophomore design class, and then you take 2 labs your sophomore year. So I think you have a total of 4 or 5 aerospace labs that you do.
So it depends on the major a little bit, but we really do try and get that hands-on. So let's go, please, Ryan, to the next one. And just get some big numbers. Here are the big numbers. You guys can see these. Public University, engineering is U.S. News and World Report as far as innovation goes. We can go to the next slide. I think you guys are catching those. They're big to read. We are a large engineering school, one of the largest in the country. You will make lots of friends from all over. Actually, Indiana is number 1 as far as the students go, which would make some sense. But Illinois and then California is our next largest student population. So Angie's still can hang out with Californians if you want to. But we also bring folks from all over the world, as you can see. And that's one of the things I love about Purdue is how diverse it is. Next slide, please. And so you can get a sense here of these. This is a list of the different majors that we have listed. And so we have 17 different majors, and within these different areas, they're focus areas. So there's so many different choices. We like to say there's like more than Baskin Robbins. We have like 80 plus flavors of engineering, depending on, you know, what you want to study. So there are really lots of choices. And I wish we could go through all this. We will be doing a engineering week, which we will give you the website to that here coming up in October, where you can hear from every one of these majors. So we're pretty excited about that. You may not know, multi-interdisciplinary is a little different, and multi is an opportunity. It's accredited. So all the rest of these degrees, you can get your professional license if you want to. Some require it, but most don't. But multi is actually where you can kind of create a little bit what your degree is. And we have someone doing a design specialty right now, which is really cool. Theater and engineering is listed under there. So know that there's lots of other options. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we are huge proponents of diversity. We firmly believe, first of all, engineering is cool, and we want students who want to be engineers to have the opportunity to be engineers. Number two, the more diverse the team, the better the solution's going to be. We really think this is critical. So we have lots of resources to support students, and you can see some of the numbers there. We are the birthplace of the National Society of Black Engineers. Angie, you've been involved in SWE, right? The Society of Women Engineers. Have you done anything with the Women in Engineering program?
I haven't. I know the Women Engineering program is really strong. They do a lot of mentor-mentee programs that a lot of people like. But yeah, I ended up going with Society of Women Engineers.
Gotcha. Which is a student organization who does a lot of outreach, a lot of activities, which is cool. Next slide. Be great. So you're looking at those majors going, whoa, you didn't talk about those. And I wish we could, but here's the deal. You're all going to start in the first year engineering program. So everybody does, no matter what. So even if you said, David, I know it's mechanical, I'm telling you, we're going to have you start in the first year engineering program. We think this is really important because this is going to give you time to really explore those 17 majors and just make sure that's the area, or maybe find something you didn't even know that is a really great fit for you. And then also to make sure you're strong in the fundamental math and science and engineering that we need you to be as a sophomore. So to plant that foundation so that you're successful when you move on to your major of choice. If you want to go to the next slide, there are multiple pathways of doing this. So know that there is some choice in going, but the bottom line is you can see the courses under there: calculus, you're going to do science, so chemistry, physics, and then you will take an engineering pathway. And there's different ways. Angie, what was your first year experience like?
I did I2I. It says right there it's the most common. You meet a lot of people in I2I. I just preferred it more because, I mean, all the routes lead you to your major. So it's really just preference on kind of what you want your engineering courses your freshman year to look like. So whether you want like more project-based, like with ethics, or research-based with VIP, totally up to you. So it's personal preference.
Yeah, with VIP, you actually get to do a research project with faculty. OS is our honors scholars. So there is an honors college. And so you would take a different version of that. They do a little more programming and deeper dive in physics and engineering. And then EPICS, you have a community partnership. What kind of project did you do in your class?
So I remember one of the ones that we did was a paper towel sorter. So you're separated into groups of 4. So you do like full design, like drawings, and then you do like the problem solvings, and then you even code it. And then at the end, like you do a presentation to the class. And ours, we worked with Kimberly-Clark. So they actually sponsored our project when we talked to one of their employees. So basically it was just fully designing a paper towel sorter. It was actually very unique because I think that helped me a lot with my sophomore design once I was in Aero, because I practiced the problem solving skills that I did in I2I. And you will with all 4 routes.
And did you know Aero coming in?
Yeah, I did. I came in really set into going into aerospace. But I will say, first engineering is really special because it does give you the opportunity to look at different majors. I know there are certain points I was considering industrial or mechanical, but ultimately I chose aerospace, but definitely really good to just explore all the different types of majors.
Cool. And so the next slide just talks a little bit about what you'll get no matter what pathway you take. This is the whole purpose of the first year program, figuring out your major, problem solving, and really your career, but know that things change. That's what's so cool about engineering. You can do so many cool things with it, teamwork and analysis. So let's go to the next slide. So EPICS, this is just an example. I talked about being applied and versus theory, and this is a really good example of us being applied. You can do this as a freshman, as I mentioned, but this is teaming up students with nonprofit organizations. And you go out and you are the engineering team, you have a budget, you do the documentation. This is a team, see how happy Purdue students are there? This is a reverse Braille reader that they've developed for the Indiana School of the Blind, and they're actually working on a patent for that right now. They've worked with the YWCA, they've worked with Riley's Children's Hospital, just a variety of things. So there are certainly opportunities for you to do hands-on, but make a difference on campus. We want you to make things better on campus and in the community, and don't wait till you graduate. Do that as a Purdue engineer. Next slide, please. So we're very big, as I mentioned, on hands-on and practical, internships, co-ops. There are so many fairs, so many opportunities. Can you just quickly share, Angie, your experience?
Yeah, so I've interned at Lockheed 3 different times. So the first one was conceptual design, structural design, and then I did F-35 flight test, which is the picture that David showed earlier. And this summer I'm with Northrop Grumman in Melbourne, Florida, doing system safety. And I got this job through one of the career fairs at Purdue. But I got a lot of offers and interviews through basically all the career fairs at Purdue. They hire all sorts of majors, and seriously, it's an amazing networking opportunity. And yeah.
Yeah, Purdue's considered really one of the top schools when it comes to recruiting. And so certainly, I never guarantee jobs, but I guarantee access to industries and companies at Purdue. So there will be lots of opportunities. And there's a lot of Purdue alums who are really gung-ho out there that you will meet in industry. Next slide, please. I think we're going to be talking a little bit about global. I won't talk a ton about this, but do know that there's options. Engineers do go abroad. You can study abroad, you can research abroad, and then we have usually we have over 30 global design projects. So one of these pictures, Holly in the hat, that she actually, they were working with a village in South America using gravity to bring water to that village and through an EPICS project, which is really, really cool. So know that there are those types of opportunities. And hopefully, by the time y'all come to Purdue, we'll be back to being able to send kids all over the world, because you certainly can do it. Next, please. And so I just wanted to, before we finish up, just give an emphasis that there is life in the Midwest, and there is life as a Purdue engineer or as a Purdue Polytechnic student. You'll maybe be able to pick Angie out in a couple of these, and then I added a few other photos of students doing fun things. So, you study a lot, but you have time, right? And talk about that. What do you do?
Sorry. You got out for a second. Yeah, trust me, I questioned that a lot on making the decision to go to Purdue, because I knew it was in Indiana. And that's quite a difference from, going to LA every single weekend my whole entire life. But really, coursework obviously takes up a lot of your weekend, but for fun, we either go to Chicago, or some of my friends, we go to Indianapolis, we go to the Indiana Dunes and just venture all over into nature. So there's definitely stuff to do. Some of these, one of those pictures is from a conference. They flew me out to St. Louis, and that was really fun because I've never explored St. Louis before. So trust me, I love having fun. I love doing stuff on the weekend. And it's definitely, you're gonna have to find the balance between school and your social life, but there's definitely ample amounts of things to do in Indiana.
Yeah, most students think they're going to go home or go away, and then they're so busy with student orgs and concerts, and hopefully when we get back to sports and various things like that, there is a ton to do. So I think the last slide we got here, oh, not yet, but close. This is just to give you, Ryan's going to talk a little bit more about the admissions process at the very end, and we do have contacts for the admissions office, but just to give you a quick look at kind of some of the metrics for our engineering students. And then the last slide is just our contact information. So please do feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to do that. We will stay online and be here answering questions, but we're going to go ahead and pass it over to Ryan to talk about Purdue Polytechnic. So thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you very much, David. Yes, again, my name is Ryan Kirchner with the Polytechnic Institute. And I'm actually going to have one of my students, Lindsay Harper, introduce herself as well. Her video is not working, but you should be able to hear her. So go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm so sorry about my video, but just a little bit about me. I am a rising senior at Purdue. I am studying computer and information technology with a minor in organizational leadership, and I'm from Washington, D.C. And just really quickly, the reason why I actually chose to come to the Polytechnic Institute and enroll in computer and information technology, or as we call it, CIT, is because of the uniqueness of the major. When I was applying to a lot of different places, I was applying to CS. I was applying to the CS programs at all of these different majors, but I knew that I wanted to make sure that I tailored my pathway in college to not just be very, very theoretical and very heavily coding based. I knew I wanted it to be a lot more applied, and I wanted to be able to kind of like have the flexibility to learn other topics. So that was really why I came into this major and why I really and why I now love it. And I actually was a cybersecurity major for 3 years. So I came in as CIT, switched to cyber, I think halfway through, and then switched back a semester ago because I just loved both majors. But I was able to do that, and I can still graduate in 4 years. So I think that's really cool.
Thanks, Lindsay. We'll hear from her as we go through our slides as well. Just want to kind of reiterate one thing that Lindsay mentioned is the applied focus that we have here in the Polytechnic. And as you can see on the slide, the hands-on education for real-world success, that's what we focus on. And we'll talk about that as we get through the slides here. So there we go. So just some quick facts about the Polytechnic. They're all Bachelor of Science degree programs here, 34 total majors that we'll kind of briefly touch on as we go through tonight. Our enrollment, approximately 4,300 undergraduate students. That's going to be, I think, pretty close to a record for us. We have almost 1,000 students joining us this fall semester, so we're really excited to see a lot more students choosing the Polytechnic in the fields of technology for their degrees. Student to faculty ratio, 15:1 right there, and then based on that enrollment, it kind of gives you the breakdown by our 6 different academic departments to kind of see the different sizes and opportunities and communities that we have here in the college as well. So last fall's class that joined us as freshmen, I just kind of give you an idea of the academic profile of our students. So GPA average from high school, 3.63, SAT of 1269, and then the ACT of 27.2. And like David mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit more about the admissions process here at the end of this presentation, but this kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at for the Polytechnic and how our students are stacking up with those 3 data points. So going into that hands-on education, how you learn, the way that you learn here with the Polytechnic, and that's really going to focus on a lecture section of your course where you learn about the theory and the science behind the technology that you're studying, and then you'll move into your lab experiences where you'll actually work directly with the technology, with the software. You'll work with data from actual companies that are sharing that with us to kind of give our students that real-world experience and how to apply those theories and concepts. And Lindsay mentioned she's in our CIT program, so I'll have her talk a little bit about what that looks like for some of her classes in that area.
Yeah, personally, what I have grown to love going through my major is that just about every single CIT class that you're taking has either a semester-long project that's attached to it or a lab that is attached to it. So it's very, very project-based and it's very, very group-based, and they did that on purpose because they wanted to make sure that we were prepared going into the real world to be able to collaborate with people of all different personality types and collaborate with people that bring different ideas and different experiences to the table. And I want to say that probably my favorite lab that I've done was my sophomore year. I was in a network engineering class, and that was probably the hardest class that I've ever taken, but it was so rewarding. I remember myself and my group members, we were in that lab 15, 20 hours a week. I would bring blankets because it was like 50 degrees in the lab. But that was probably my favorite because I learned so much about like servers, and we were setting up VMs and queues and things like that. So it was a great experience. So that's why I'm really drawn to that hands-on group thinking approach, and that's the way it is throughout all of the majors within the Polytech.
Absolutely. We also have a lot of different research labs. You can work as an undergraduate student on the research process with our faculty and other graduate students doing that. Lindsay mentioned working with projects, and that typically looks like a senior capstone or a semester-long project. So getting that experience of what transitioning an idea to a solution out into the real world looks like you mentioned, that relevant experience and seeing how to apply those things in the real world. We also want our students to think with a global perspective. Lindsay mentioned, working with diverse groups of people, how to communicate, how to work together, and that's going to take the shape of different cultural classes, study abroad opportunities, cultural centers on campus as well. So really understanding technology around the world and working with groups of people. And then specializing in your area of study is really important. We want you to become an expert in a specific field that you choose here in the Polytechnic, but also learn the innovation and design process and be a lifelong learner. With technology evolving and adapting all the time, we want you to be able to adapt and change that too. So that's part of the process in our courses as well. And kind of talking about how that looks. Actually, I'm going to go back one. We have a course called Tech 120, which is design thinking and technology, and that gives you those skills and those tools to really go into that lifelong learning process throughout the time in your degree, and then also when you're done, how do you keep adapting and changing and taking on new challenges in your career as you move forward. There's different experiences on campus, working with our faculty members, bringing that theory to life and building that mentor relationship. They're here to help you succeed. They're great people with a lot of industry experience, and they bring that to the table and to the classes and labs for you. Same idea with our advisors, working with them on your plan of study, taking the right courses, progressing, or minor double major certificate programs like have been mentioned before. They work with you on all that. We have about 1,000 clubs and organizations at Purdue. Lindsay's one of our senior ambassadors for our Polytechnic student ambassadors. What other clubs are you involved in, Lindsay?
I'm involved in MTA, which is the Minority Technology Association. I'm also the vice president of the Women in Technology organization. And then I am chairing the Witty Sisters mentoring program, and that is where we pair incoming women that are coming into the Polytechnic with upperclassmen that can just guide them through their freshman year, and they're always in the same major or department as them, as well as have maybe some hobbies or something to connect each other with. And then I'm also a boiler mentor, so I am a mentor to an underrepresented minority that came in last year. So I'm continuing that next semester as well. So I really do like to stay involved on campus. That just what brings me joy, and that's what I'm really, really passionate about.
All right, excellent. Thank you. You're very, very busy. And then next up are internship experiences. Again, that goes back to how you apply what you learn in the classes and labs into the real world. So we have several different career fairs and opportunities to connect with companies. And Lindsay, I know you've had several different internships over the last few summers, and I want you to share those because they're really cool opportunities that I think everybody would really love to hear from.
Yeah, I've had a lot of different opportunities, and I really got those from the career fairs or going to different conferences that either the CIT department or Purdue Polytechnic sponsored me for, because they really like to see their students getting out there. But my freshman year, I was an intern at Dell. I was an anti-fraud analyst with them. And then my sophomore year, I was a global information security analyst with Bank of America. I was in their New York City location. And then this summer, I just completed my final internship at Intel. I was a cloud engineer intern with them. I was supposed to be in their Hillsborough location, which is just outside of Portland. That's where all their engineering and manufacturing locations are. But unfortunately, it was remote. But I've gotten at least over 10, maybe 15 offers throughout the years. from the people that I've networked with that are either alumni from CIT or professors that really, really want you to succeed, or things like that. And I think that that's really what's so special about a lot of the professors at Purdue and at the Polytechnic in general. I remember that we had a professor, it was myself and a group of, I think, 4 other girls. We wanted to go to a conference in Pittsburgh, a Women in Cybersecurity conference, and we didn't know how to get there. And so our professor, she drove us 8 hours to that conference in a Purdue van. And that was probably one of my most fond memories of some of my professors, because they really care.
Very cool. Excellent. And then, like David mentioned, we do have study abroad in the Polytechnic as well. Office of Globalization is our study abroad, but obviously on hold right now, but hoping to bring those back soon. And then looking at the payoff of the degree from the Polytechnic, 91.4% placement for May 2019's graduating class, average starting salary just under $61,000. You'll see a list of global companies across a variety of different industries that our students or graduates are going to work for as well. Variety of different fields that are utilizing the skills that our students get in these different degrees, with those sample job titles as well. So there's a variety of resources on our website where you can see individual major placement, department placement, different job titles and career options, companies that students have worked for after they graduate as well. It's a great resource that I'll have a link for at the end of this presentation for you. All right. So real quick, I want to go through our department so we can get some Q&A answered once we're done with the admissions stuff. Our School of Aviation, Transportation Technology, we do have a working airport here on campus. It was the first university-run airport in the nation, and we're still using that for all of our students to get the experiences of managing the logistics and operations of an airport, understanding how to maintain and design aircraft and the engines, working on drones, and certainly our pilots, learning to become pilots and taking those hours and flying around all day long. So it's a great experience. You get connected with industry that are on campus all the time. So this is a great opportunity. If you're looking at the aviation industry and management, flying, maintenance and design and manufacturing of aircraft, this is the place to be for that program. Our Department of Computer Graphics Technology really focuses in on the different software programs that are utilized in a variety of different industries. So you're going to learn those skills and how to master those programs. You're going to develop portfolios and certainly our entertainment areas in animation, game development, design, and visual effects compositing to help you get into those industries. Or you just, again, gaining those skills that are necessary to work with those different software programs and these other areas, developing websites or user experiences, really getting the programming languages as well as that software experience. You have the ability to be creative while using that technology, and that's really the big focus here in this program. Computer information technology, we've heard from Lindsay a lot about this area already. Lindsay, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to share just about this department real quick.
I mean, not really. I guess with the different majors, computer information technology is the most general major and also the most flexible. At that, you have to declare a non-computing minor if you're in that major. So things like communication, poli-sci, things like that. Cybersecurity is, I guess, kind of self-explanatory. But if you're really, really wanting to go down that security route, maybe you want to be a pen tester, or maybe you want to go into anti-fraud, red team, blue team, things like that. That's cyber geared. Network engineering is if you like the hardware and software side. That's a great blend of it. And then systems analysis and design is, in my opinion, the major that is most heavily related to the business side of a company. So that's things like database management, and you use a lot of SQL and things like that.
Here we go. Cool. Thank you very much for sharing, Lindsay. And then next department, construction management technology. So in this area, you're going to take classes where you're actually going to build some structures. We have a lab with a working crane in it. So you're going to understand how that process works when you're working with different contractors. You're going to get some OSHA safety training, but you're also going to get the management side. How do you develop the plans for a project? You're estimating your materials, working with architects, engineers, the financiers, managing the entire process. That's really the big focus there. So you understand how those skills, those trades are utilized, and then how to manage those teams when they're coming in. Same idea with design and construction integration. That's a newer major for us, working with all the different aspects of a project. Again, all the constituents that are working on that specific project, you bring them all to the table and make sure everything's working smoothly and really bringing the project off the ground, so to speak. Next up, our School of Engineering Technology. This is where we go back to that hands-on education, really, and what Lindsay was talking about with all the classes that she has with a lecture in her major are going to have a lab. The same goes with the engineering technology majors as well. So if you really like to work with your hands and really like to see designs and theories come to life, the application of theories, this is where you want to focus your potential pathway for college. You're going to get the concepts and the design, and then how do you bring them to life essentially. So if you have or heard of Project Lead the Way, or if you have those classes available for you, it's a very similar type of educational structure. Again, theory and science, and then how things are applied in those lab experiences. So that's really the biggest difference that we see within our program and how we approach it. And I'm going to talk about some different things at the end where you can see some of our materials and how they go into a little more depth within this area. But again, lots of different opportunities here coming out of this department. Just real quick about this area, engineering technology enrollment, we are #1 nationwide. Quantity awarded for engineering technology nationwide, also #1, and then #1 awarding bachelor's degrees for women in engineering technology nationwide. So very proud of this department and what they're doing with our students. And the last department that we have, technology, leadership, and innovation. This is where you're going to focus more on the people side of technology and business and education as well. So engineering, technology, teacher ed, becoming a high school and middle school teacher, and teaching education, engineering and technology classes. Human resource development, training, developing employees with technology in mind and how to put them in the right places. And organizational leadership is going to give you business, policy, law, technology law, and how to manage projects and change within organizations. So really applicable across the board in a lot of different areas, but again, that people side of business and managing teams and developing your leadership skills. So just to wrap up real quick, so I want to make sure we get a couple more slides in about our admissions. Unique learning environment here, again, deep technical knowledge and applying those skills, relevant experiences to the real world with senior capstone projects and internships, problem solving skills, thinking critically, innovating and designing, and then communication skills. We want you to be technically sound, but also working with groups of people and leading teams and leading projects, and communication is a huge part of that, of course. So that's about it for the Polytechnic, but we just want to, in our recruitment office, there's our website there. If you have any questions, you can contact us. You can request a phone call, set up a virtual meeting one-on-one. And that last link there at the bottom is going to have a lot of downloadable resources, all the materials you could have gotten if you came, if we're able to come visit with us. You can download all that zip file and see all the different brochures and flyers and things to read all about the different departments and majors that we have. So, and then again, our website is going to be a great resource for pretty much anything else you might want to find out. All right, real quick about Purdue Admissions, what it takes to have a complete application. We are on the common application, so make sure you select Purdue if you're looking for applying to our majors. You can apply to 2 majors, a first choice and a second choice, so just keep that in mind. The Purdue questions will ask you why you're applying to Purdue, and then why you apply to the first choice and then the second choice major as well. You self-report your grades and your test scores, your SAT or ACT if you've taken one of those. There's the essay prompt within the common application. You choose one of those to respond to, and we'll read all of that. And then the $60 application fee or waiver if you qualify for that process as well. How we evaluate your application is a very holistic process. If you go and take a look at the website that's listed at the bottom of this page, it's going to have all this information with a lot more detail, but just want to kind of give you a summary here. But we're going to take a look at your high school coursework, the strength of your curriculum at your high school, and how you've taken advantage of that. Relevant coursework to the major you're applying for. So obviously we're talking about STEM degrees. So if you have STEM coursework or AP Science, AP Computer Science, those types of classes, if you've taken those, they're going to look a little more closely at that during the review process. Your academic trends, make sure you're staying high with the A's and B's in your entire high school career. And the ACT or SAT test score, I've seen some questions through the chat or the Q&A about that. So Purdue is now an SAT or ACT test preferred in terms of our admissions process. What that means is if you have an ACT or SAT already completed, please submit that to us. We want to see that data. We want to see that information. So make sure you submit that. If you are scheduled to take one coming up, please again submit that information when you are submitting your application. If for some reason you're unable to take an SAT or ACT, we get it. It's a completely different world that we're living in right now. So your application will still be considered complete if you do not have an SAT or ACT score. But if you have one or you're going to take the test soon, please do include that in your application. There's some great resources again through the admissions website to kind of walk you through that, but that's about as simplistically I think I can put it, just to make sure you understand. If you have it, submit it. If you're going to take the test, submit the score. If you can't for some reason, it's okay. We're still going to review your application. We'll also take a look at all the different things you're doing in your extracurriculars, athletics, Your essay, we're going to read everything in that, every word of that. The major in the college you apply for, certainly there are some majors that are a little more competitive at different points. And then recommendation letters are not required, but encouraged. So a couple, teachers or community leaders that you work with that can kind of attest to who you are and your abilities. And then the time of year you apply, we're going to talk about deadlines here in a second. And then any personal background or experiences that you want to share. Maybe you had a bad semester with you broke your arm and you couldn't really do your homework that well. Talk about that. Let us know how that trend happened and why you brought that and how you were able to learn from it, and bring those grades back up as well. And then the admissions schedule, August 1st, obviously a couple weeks ago, that common application went live, so you can start submitting your application now. November 1st is our early action deadline, so that gets you considered for all of our merit-based scholarships, as well as the Honors College if you want to be considered for the Honors College. You just check an extra box and answer a couple more questions, and then you have that honors honors application complete as well. January 15th is our early action decisions release date. So as long as you apply by November 1st, you will hear on January 15th what your admissions decision is. The date is also the regular decision deadline. March 1st is a priority deadline to file the FAFSA. So you'll receive your financial aid information after that, about 3 weeks typically. And then mid-April is when they moved it, the learning community application for priority application to, it was April 15th this year, I believe, but they may change that. So just kind of keep an eye on that if you're interested in a learning community opportunity. And then May 5th is typically the regular decision deadline or the regular application deadline. May 1st typically is the deadline to accept your offer of admission. We moved that back to June 1st. But I anticipate, at least right now, May 1st is going to be our date for that. And then May 5th is typically, again, the deadline to complete a housing contract. But depending on how things go, if things are still crazy out there with COVID, that may change. So that's it for our presentation. I know we have a few minutes left for Q&A. So I don't know, David, if you saw any questions out there that you would want to tackle, or since I haven't been seeing them for a little bit.
Yeah, I think the big one was, do you apply to your major? You're actually going to apply, and you can help out here, Ryan, because we're a little different. In the College of Engineering, you're going to apply to the college, and then within most colleges, you then choose and apply to a major within that college. In the College of Engineering, you only can choose first-year engineering. So we make it simple. But for Polytechnic, for example, you would actually select your major within the college, correct?
Yes, exactly. Polytechnic and any other college and major at the university here. Yeah, you select the very specific major and apply directly for that.
Yeah, and some schools do have a kind of an undecided option, I believe, within some of the different colleges.
Liberal Arts has an undecided, and then there's also the exploratory studies option, which you can come into Purdue without a declared major and explore and really find, okay, what major at Purdue is going to fit based on my interest and my potential career goals.
And that's a really great program.
It really is. And you get up to 2 years to finally then declare your major while you're taking classes to kind of satisfy the general education, and then also maybe some courses that will move you into the direction if you're leaning towards a specific major. I had a question real quick. Housing contract is if you want to live in a residence hall at Purdue, that's what that housing contract, so, submit that, and then you can live in one of the dorms on campus.
And someone did ask about housing options. Do know we have one of the larger residential campuses in the country. 16 or 17, and I may be wrong because there's 2 more that are about to come online for this fall. So I think we usually have around 15 to 16,000 students living on campus, which is roughly about half of our undergraduate population. Yeah, 5 dining courts, and so many different options are for on the go right now. So
yeah, tons of dining all over campus. So
the food is awesome.
It really is. That's very true.
Yeah.
So true.
Let's see, anything else for the good of the...
There were a couple other ones I thought.
General ones. Guys, if the students see anything. Is housing guaranteed all 4 years? I do believe that you have priority. Certainly if you start as a freshman, then you have priority. I'm not sure if I would use the word guaranteed, but I do believe that you typically, if you want to get it for all 4 years, you can.
Yeah, you have that option. You just need to sign a new contract to live in a residence hall every year. And that's, but you can live all 4 years if you choose to do so. Question real quick, is Purdue binding? No, that early action deadline of November 1st is not a binding application. So it's just to kind of, again, consider you for all the scholarships. And then some majors, like our professional flight degree, typically closes after November 1st. So that's really what that is. It's not a binding application deadline. It's just an early action one. So definitely not binding.
And it looks like we're about at our time, so we really want to thank everyone. Please know that we will receive the questions that we didn't get to, and whether we will answer them or we will get them to the proper folks at Purdue.
Absolutely.
And please be looking at our websites for virtual opportunities. We are not welcoming guests at this point to campus. We're going to get kids on campus and hopefully make that super duper safe. We've got about 88% of our population coming back.
Yeah.
But please do reach out to us.
Yeah.
I'll say thank you from me, and Angie, I really want to thank you so much for joining in, and I'll let Ryan kind of.
Thanks to Lindsay for joining us and sharing her experiences, and thank you all at home for joining us as well. Really appreciate it. And again, feel free to contact any of us with any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, panelists, for sharing this information. Students and counselors, thank you for taking the time to join. As you close this window, a very quick 4-question survey will appear, so we do ask for your feedback. We encourage you to sign up for additional presentations that are running through the evening. And thanks, everyone. Have a great day.